to do a bit of a chatty get ready with me. Just using some products, focusing on the Dior products that I have because I really like the Backstage line. And then I just talk. So yeah. So yeah, get ready with me. So I'm already moisturized and sunscreened. I used the Laneige Radiant C Cream, and then I also used the Perricone MD Photo Brightening Moisturizer, and this does have SPF in it. Alright, so I want to use one of my Dior Backstage eyeshadow palettes. I have two of them currently. I say currently because I do want to pick up at least another one. So I have the amber neutrals and the bronze neutrals. I want to say I used the amber neutrals in a video, so I am going to go ahead and use the bronze neutrals. Now, along with the eyeshadows in here, there is also an eye primer. So I'm just going to use that. So let me tell you what's been going on in my head. I have been thinking about the things that like I can't enjoy anymore. Like the things that I've sort of ruined for myself, whether that be by accident or, you know, by career. So let me tell you what I mean. The one thing that kind of sparked my like running down this rabbit hole or falling down the rabbit hole with this idea is I was thinking of food. And the one thing, not the one thing, there are other things, but one thing I just cannot eat anymore are chicken pot pies. Let me tell you why. My brother, who's like 8 years older than me, he used to work at KFC back in the day when he was like a teenager. We would go pick him up from work and he smelled like chicken. Like, I mean, if you work in a fast food place or a restaurant, you're probably gonna smell like the food or whatever, right? And I don't recall, but I think he must have been giving us chicken pot pies because now I never want to see another pot pie in my entire life. I don't think I've had pot pie in like 20 years. I don't know. I'm just like, no, I don't want it. I mean, the thing is, my sister, one of my sisters who is 11 years older than me, she used to work at Burger King. And then I, for a short time, worked at Boston Market. And those are another two places I don't really frequent. I think it's just like overload. And then it's just like, I can't do it anymore. So that got me thinking of like other things that I feel have been ruined for me either by myself or someone else, and I wanted to share those with you because I don't have anybody else to talk to right now. So I'm gonna go in with this shade here. So the first thing are a couple of TV shows. One being Gilmore Girls, and the other being Pretty Little Liars. Now, when I tell you that I have watched every single episode of each of these series multiple times, believe me. Because Gilmore Girls, I was watching it and it got me through like a rough time. And then Pretty Little Liars, I don't even know. One day I had been flipping through the channels and I saw a scene and I was like, oh my God, what is this show? So I hopped on the bandwagons, right? Then, you know, as I progressed through like grad school and such, and I became a little bit more knowledgeable or informed about things, I started to look at these shows a little differently. First of all, Gilmore Girls, since that came out first a long time ago. I mean, initially I was like, this seems like it's geared toward Caucasian folk, but I really enjoyed it. I even watched some of it with my mom. So if you don't know about Gilmore Girls, it's basically a show about a woman who is a mother to a teen daughter who she had when she was a teenager, and then her relationship with her parents, and then her parents are like rich, and it's just a lot, right? But as I watched it more, I realized there's some racism, there's some stereotyping, there's some fat phobia. Another thing is Dean, Rory, the daughter's first boyfriend. He was a little much. Like, initially I was like, oh my god, that's so cute. Like, he's always calling her, and he like made her car and all this stuff. And then I realized, no, that's not good. That's not good. Because he did not leave her alone. Like, he was always up in her business and always telling her what to do and getting upset if she didn't call and popping up at her house unannounced. No, do not come to my house unannounced, because even if you ring that doorbell for 5 minutes, I'm not going to answer it. He was just a bit obsessive with her, and it wasn't cute. It's not cute, okay? If you have a partner like that, just consider that maybe it's not the healthiest. I'm sure I can go on about other relationships too. But also the mother-daughter relationship between Lorelai and Rory. Initially, I was like, oh my god, they're so close. I'm close to my mom too. But this is a codependent relationship. Like, there's one line that stood out to me that made me write a paper on it in grad school. I know, who does that? And the line was something like, we're just one person, is what Lorelai, the mom, said to Rory's school when she missed a test because she hit a deer, or the deer hit her car, whatever. And Lorelai's like, we're just one person. And I was able to like form an entire paper on that line and how it demonstrates the codependency in this relationship. It's just, there are so many other examples, and I could pull out the paper that I got an A on and read it to you if you really wanted, but I'm sure you don't. Now, Pretty Little Liars. You know, where's my brush? It was real cute because it was about these 5 young girls who, like, one of them was kidnapped or died, and the other 4 were getting like these text messages from this person named A, and they were thinking that it was their friend come back from the dead. Now, Pretty Little Liars should have ended at season 4, but it went to season 7. Okay, it went to season 7, which is fine because I watched every episode. But some of the things that they like romanticize are pretty disgusting. Not only that, but also illegal. So they had just about every man in his 20s, character in their 20s, hooking up with the girls who are like 16. And there are like flashbacks when these dudes was still in their 20s, but they was getting it. They were like kissing and stuff with 13, 14-year-olds. And then the one that is just like celebrated is the relationship between this English teacher, Ezra, and his student, Aria. Child, when I tell you, I mean, technically in Philadelphia, where it's supposed to be, I think like a 16-year-old can date an old ass man, but a teacher isn't supposed to date a student. I mean, at least. At minimum, right? But it makes me so uncomfortable because people are like, oh my god, Ezra, it's like their end game and all this other stuff. And then Allison, the one who was dead / not dead, she was playing around with Emily's emotions, like stringing her along, like real hetero games. So this show, though, I think does an excellent job on like including the LGBTQIA plus community from my vantage point of watching. But then it seemed like they killed off all the black people. They killed Maya. They killed Shauna. They killed Landon or whatever his name is. I mean, granted, 2 of those were trying to kill other people, but still. And then Emily, she ends up dating someone who, like, physically abused her. Like, she ends up dating Paige. Is that her name? Yeah, Paige. I think that's her name. I don't remember. This girl shoved Emily's head underwater, and she, like, abused. I mean, she, like, bullied her also. All of a sudden, they're in love. No. Like, I'm not okay with it. I also did not like Caleb, okay? I thought Caleb was all up in Hannah's business. He was always trying to tell her what to do. He was so emotionally, like, volatile. I didn't enjoy him. All the little boys on that show were a little, no. You had this big old doctor making out with this 16-year-old. No, that's inappropriate. These people need to find folks their age and older. Whew. It gets me heated. Like, I can't stand it. Let me move on to Disney. We already know Disney got problems, right? Okay. I am going to go in with this shade. Let me tell you what I can no longer watch. Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, and Snow White. First of all, Cinderella and Snow White are just super heteronormative, and they make it seem like all you have to do in life is find you a man who's gonna, like, take you to a ball or whatever, and your life is gonna be like tip-top shape, girl. It's like the fantasy you've always dreamed of. That's rubbish. That's not true. So besides being heteronormative and trying to convince us that there is, you know, a fairy tale waiting for us to happen, Beauty and the Beast went even further, because initially it's like, oh my god, like, the Beast loves Belle so much, like, she changed him. First of all, you can't change nobody, okay? What you see is what you get. And then, did we not realize that the Beast kidnapped, what's her face, Belle, kidnapped her and held her hostage? But all of a sudden she gonna fall in love with him? He might have also been a little psychotic, because who has dishes and stuff that sing? And another blatant sort of misogynistic, patriarchal thing is Gaston. Why didn't he take no for no? He was all up on Belle's butt, and she kept saying, no, I don't want to date you, dude. I'm not feeling you. But no, he just kept on, and we're supposed to think it's cute because he thought he was the hottest thing since sliced bread. No. Don't even get me started on, like, the Little Mermaid and how she gave up her whole damn life for this man. Girl, I just don't think that it is giving, you know, really good examples of anything. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to go back into this one here and just deepen this up a little bit. I'm trying to think, are there any other, like, Disney, like, every Disney movie. Was Pocahontas Disney? Because that was not a love story. Go read a history book, Disney. Because no, it was not a love story. Why are we always trying to take away from the the indigenous experience? Dang, didn't we do bad enough with the smallpox blankets and stuff? Jesus Christ. All right, I'm going to go in with my Dior Backstage Primer. Okay. So I like this primer. It's kind of hydrating, but also it mattifies a bit. And then I'm going to go in with the Dior Backstage foundation. Now this one might be controversial. I cannot with TikTok. I mean, you're like, why? Why can't you with TikTok? Because, I mean, everybody is always showing memes from TikTok, and you've got, like, people doing videos of, like, TikTok made me buy it, all that jazz. That's okay. That's fine. But what I have noticed is that ever since the beginning of TikTok, and this has been different from other social media platforms that I have experienced, ever since then, I have had to convince so many people that they don't have certain psychological disorders. I'm not even kidding. I'm not kidding. I mean, I completely understand, you know, wanting to find information on symptoms that you're experiencing and stuff like that. But I often encourage people to not just rely on Dr. Google. And now I have to tell them, you know, chill out on diagnosing yourself from TikTok and or Instagram. Not to say that these platforms aren't correct sometimes. But when I tell you I've had to convince so many people that they do not have borderline personality disorder, they do not have bipolar disorder, they do not have PTSD, and they do not have body dysmorphic disorder, oh my God. Like, those are the top ones that I keep hearing, like, I saw this on TikTok. No, you can't. There are some things that I think are a lot like easier to diagnose or like have an idea of something. I'm going to go in with the Cover FX concealer. Like depression, anxiety, there are often symptoms that you can like clearly identify. But some of these other ones, not so much. I'm just going to tell you, okay? Not so much. Wait, a quick side note. So I saw on Instagram. God, hypocrite. I saw on Instagram that people were saying putting the concealer down your nose is like to slim your nose. And I thought it was to bring light to the like center of your face, because I don't want to slim my nose. Like, I don't, you know, it's a very like Eurocentric thing to think you need a small nose. So I'm just not going to do that anymore until I find out something else. Okay, what was I saying? Yeah, so like there are differences. Just like there is a difference between having a diagnosed anxiety disorder and feeling anxious. There's a bit of a difference because we all feel anxious. Like, you know, it's super normal, it's super human. There is also a difference between having a major depressive episode and feeling depressed one day. Now, PTSD. Lots of us have trauma. Along with that, not all of us have PTSD, because trauma definitely affects the brain. It changes how you process things. The trauma memories are stored a little differently from our everyday memories, all this jazz. I'm like a trauma therapist, okay? That doesn't necessarily, like, if you've been in a traumatic event or experience, doesn't necessarily mean that you have post-traumatic stress disorder. And then body dysmorphic disorder. Now, I also do a lot of work with eating disorder clients, as well as just folks who aren't happy with their bodies. But there is another level that you kind of have to cross to get to body dysmorphic disorder. Just because you don't like your body doesn't mean you have that diagnosis. I mean, about 90% of those who identify as women don't like their bodies. Like, you just got to be a woman in America for that one. Yeah. So that, like, I want people to be cautious of thinking that they have these things that are pretty serious and significant. And I can honestly tell you that people who have borderline personality disorder and all these other personality disorders have never walked in my office and said that that's what they have. I'm just saying, I could be wrong. Tell me your experience. And I'm also not going to pretend that sometimes we therapists, psychiatrists, everybody, we're wrong about diagnoses. I don't think I'm wrong about this, but let me know. Okay, I'm going to go in and set my under eyes with my Pat McGrath. I'm going to put on my Danessa Myricks bronzer and put on a little bit of blush, and then I'll come back. I don't have Dior of those products, so hold on one second. Okay, so I went ahead and did a little more than I said. I did put on the bronzer, the Danessa Myricks bronzer, the Pat McGrath powder, and Milani cream blush in Merlot Moments. I also just put on some mascara, and I lined my lower lash with a liner from, where is it? Okay, a liner from Natasha Denona. Ugh. Natasha Denona. This is the burgundy one that she has. My Macro Tech eye crayon, and then I put on a little bit of lip liner from LA Girl in the shade Vamp, and I went in with the lipstick Miss Mistletoe from Christian Audette. Side note, you guys, they posted me on their Instagram today, so obviously I'm famous now. Get my autograph. Okay, so one reason that I chose to focus on Dior is because I wanted to use the Dior Backstage Powder No Powder in a different way. I was watching Glam Girl Chelsea, and she initially didn't like this powder, but then she tried it a different way and like loves it. And what influenced her to try it a different way was feedback from Gabe Loves Makeup, who also has a channel and is like a makeup artist and everything. And so, yeah, both of them are awesome. So he suggested that Chelsea try using the powder with a sponge rather than with a brush. Now, I already like this powder, but I do tend to use it with a brush. So I wanted to also give it a try with the sponge. So here we go. I have the shade 6N in this powder, 6 Neutral. And the last thing I'll end with, because I could go on forever, I'm using this Beauty Blender powder puff thing, is a phrase that I can no longer say. And the phrase is, that's crazy. Either that or you're crazy or, you know, it's so crazy. Because I have been given feedback from several people, because if it was like one, I would be like, okay. Several people that they don't like when I call things crazy because I'm a psychologist. So that must mean that something is like actually crazy. But what I've tried to impart upon these people is that crazy is not necessarily a word that's used a lot in psychology. Like, I don't call my clients crazy. I give them diagnoses. You know, like I would never call them crazy. So yeah, the word has a different sort of connotation, I guess, coming from a psychologist than just like everyday life. So I've refrained from saying that's crazy, you're crazy, blah blah blah. But I will say crazy is not, it's not a medical term. It's not a medical term. It's not a like psychological term. We don't use it really. We also don't use like insane. That's more of a legal term. So yeah, but you know, in deference to people that I care about, I no longer say it, or I try not to. Sometimes I catch myself and I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. So yeah, that is about it. Ow. So I put the powder on with the sponge, and I do feel like it gives more coverage with the sponge, obviously because you're like pressing it into your skin. And I want to say that it gives a more like filtered, sort of smooth look to the face. I like it. I mean, but I have tended to like all of the Dior products that I've tried. So I, in wrap up, have used the primer, face primer, the Backstage foundation, one of the Backstage eyeshadow palettes, and eye primer, and then the Dior powder. So I am hoping to try out a couple of other things. I know in the past I have definitely used mascara from Dior, but I haven't used any cheek products or lip products. So those are ones I kind of want to try. There's no rush because I now have instilled a beauty budget and I'm doing real good. Anyway, let me know some things that have been ruined for you or that you have a different perspective on now than before. And I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.